following video is basically what I'm going to call hardware gore or hardware porn, depending on your opinion of it, because I run as my daily driver, as they call it these days with the cool kids, Windows 7 Ultimate Edition in most cases. I haven't actually looked at the screen. I've been trying to get these neated up, and it says I'm running Windows 7 Ultimate. This is from a install that uses the Windows 7 Ultimate Poly install, which means it can install 32-bit all the way through 64-bit every version of Windows 7 on one disk, because they all use the same files. It's a set of scripts that says what kind to install. That gives me the ability to extract some files that are not normally available, so that my 64-bit supposedly only operating system can technically run some 32-bit code, just like it's supposed to for compatibility layer. It also includes code from Windows 95, 98, Millennium, 2000 XP. I have a little bit of code from Windows 3.1 and DOS 62 in here, including at one time a set of stupid computer tricks that would let me do video resolutions that are not normally possible, but you can do only on liquid crystal display screens, and it was a fun video I did a long time ago about it. I don't have the drivers installed anymore. I'll have to do that again. In the middle, we have the hardware list, and it shows just two exclamation points. A network controller, which it turns out is simply a Wi-Fi card I disabled on hardware level. It still shows up. It just shows up as disabled and doesn't know what to do with it. The network adapters read as being just the Realtek default wired connection. And then the unknown device may be referring to the Bluetooth capability I disabled. The mouse I'm using has its own little Bluetooth toy, but I turned off the one that's intrinsic to it because, number one, it also goes along with activating some other features that amount to trusted computer platforming. On the left, we see the video resolution, which should be what it's recording in, is 1366 by 768, which means it's above 720, which means this should upload as somewhat high definition or medium definition on YouTube. And that's me showing off my operating system. I've got a 2.7 gigahertz processor. 3 gigahertz is about where systems kind of peak. That's why we're using multi-cores. I have more than one core in here. I'm using a 64-bit operating system because that gives me access to most of the hardware. Windows 7 does have some limits that are irrational, but it is working well, and I have 8 gig, and a little over half of it is being used, 8 gigs of RAM, a little over half is being used for the video card and other ancillary thing. Online support, blah, 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 change settings. I have it listed as Mac Mini on a work group. I use work group as the default because that means I can take this laptop and plug it into the default that everybody else uses. And yes, it's legitimately activated. I totally wouldn't do anything else. And if you haven't noticed, the hardware listing there doesn't show it, but as I say, it knew the assignment and it looks the part. This is a Windows 7 install from 2009. That's when it was created. And the hardware I'm using it on is from 2009. This laptop was originally built for Windows Vista or Windows 7 Ultimate. So that's the only reason I'm able to use it, is it has drivers for it. The ones that don't, you have to look up all of the driver patches on what used to be Driver Guide and other websites that are increasingly getting stingy about letting you download drivers. So, yeah, fun. Now, there are modded versions of Windows 7 that add in even more compatibility by importing hunks of code from Windows 8. Some even include Windows 10 and Windows 11 code to force them to have newer capabilities added in. Mine is also the other way around. It includes code from all the way back from Windows 1 and DOS 1 forward at one time or another in this thing, so I could run really old software, mostly so I could get it running in RAM, not in a virtual machine, make sure it worked on bare metal hardware by loading this thing into a command prompt that I had set up. This thing was able to, and still is, able to boot into a pure DOS prompt because technically the bootloader for it uses really not much more than a Windows XP compatibility layer for DOS, so it would do it. It complained if I used newer operating systems, depending. But I used it as the basis for testing things and then did a virtual machine at the time. and then gave up and just used DOSBox. But anyway, here we go with the rest of it. Other than that, I'm missing some features in here I'd like to have, like being able to pick 12-bit video mode and that sort of thing for some of the weird video cards. But at that point, I just drop the DOS command prompt and tell it to just wing it. And it does EGA, VGA, CGA, or Super VGA graphics by using a universal driver that comes with whatever I've got. Again, usually I just switch over to DOSBox and get away with it. Anyway, that's the video for this. Again, depending on how you're looking at it, this is hardware and coding porn, or it's gore. And for some of you, it doesn't matter, you like both. That's the video for today, and this is being done under CamStudio version 2 because I've come to the conclusion by experimenting that CamStudio Beyond 2003 by RenderSoft, aka CamStudio, they're just remakes of the same thing, and this one does the same features as the latest version. The only thing missing is it doesn't immediately convert it to MP4. And when I run this, it doesn't do any aberration and stupid behaviors. I downloaded newer versions of CamStudio, yes, including 3, and they have even more things wrong with them. Enshittification comes in 2 modes. One is where people deliberately break things for some reason. It's always money, really, but we never really find out why, and it doesn't make any damn sense. The other one is when they deliberately sabotage a product and then say, carrot and stick like, we'll fix it in the next version, you have to keep paying us, which is the Microsoft technique. And I noticed a lot of people murmuring about installing Windows 7 in the year 2026. Every couple of years, I put a brand new hard drive in this thing, or any other computer I'm using, and just install every operating system up from DOS 1 and Windows 1 all the way up to whatever will work on it before it crashes to see how many compatibility layers I can put in, and then I make images of them in the form of copying effectively the hard drive and keep doing this until I run out. So I have live copies that I can just copy to a hard drive and restart with. The purpose being to then overwrite the entire hard drive to completely clean them and have them loaded with whatever operating system. And the newer the operating system, the more bloat it has, the more it covers it. And I've been using Windows 7 to overwrite the main part of hard drives for a long time. So there's a bunch of hard drives that you might find at a thrift shop somewhere in Portland or other cities floating around that happen to have a full copy of Windows 7 I hacked together out of potentially 12 different OS enhancements, hacks, packs, patches, etc. And on top of this, I use a utility that gives me this kind of start menu because I hate the Windows 7 start menu. That's it for the video. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. You'll all need it.